Hi there, this is Willie. I'm going to show you about the project we did during class in Excel. It's kind of an important project because I'm going to go over a lot of the basics of Excel, or at least Google Sheets, of the skills that we kind of need for this class. So I'm just going to jump into it. This file has been shared with you in if you go to shared with me in your Google Drive, you should see or search, look for Trivago. The backstory is these are just hotel costs of a trip I might take to Vegas for a teacher conference. So I looked it up, put them into Excel, and these are just actual hotel costs that I pulled off of the internet from Trivago, strangely enough. So the very first thing to know about this is that there are three types of cells in Excel. There's text. You can see here, it says text. Matter of fact, let me zoom in on this. There is numbers. Excuse me. There are numbers, which is just, as you see, just a number. And there are also formulas. Formulas we'll talk about in just a second. But the first thing we're going to do, with all this data, if you see it's not exactly sorted properly. There's a few of them that are, oh, actually this one might actually be sorted. Yours is not. So I'm going to resort this. I sorted it in practicing this, but yours is going to see a slightly different order of the numbers here. So I'm going to show you how to sort the data so it looks like the lowest is at the top. Well, first let's give it some headers. So I'm going to just select that and type in hotel. And over here I'm going to say cost. Now you'll notice mine are bold. You can highlight cells, like I can either click and drag, and I can hit the bold button. And sometimes I use a keyboard shortcut where I just hold down the shift key and hit arrow. Or if I go down, I'm still holding the shift key. I can do that. Okay. So to sort, I'm going to select both here. Now, I notice it's not the hand. Notice I don't want the hand here because that will move the column. I want the arrow here and drag over. So click and drag. Data. We don't want these. This always sorts by the first column. So we want to go to sort range. And it's saying, does it have a header row? Yes, because I just added them as a header. So click that and it will notice which one it wants to sort by. Cost. And I'll hit sort. And of course mine did not change, yours will. Now I'm about to make, I have a sheet for you to look at. So it's a yellow sheet that's called Financial Algebra 1-2 Travel Expenses. And you can see kind of where we're headed with this whole thing. I might actually have a good example here that's all done. It's going to look something like this. This is where we're headed. So I'm going to break up the Excel sheet between these gray cells. I just like the division of keeping things separate. And we're going to make this big table over here. So go back over here. So I'm going to make this column gray just because I'm going to put some stuff to the right of it, and I like giving a little wall. So I'm going to select the whole column. I'm going to go up to the little paint bucket, and you can pick any color you want. I'm going to pick gray. And then I'm going to put in here, just as good practice, some properties of these numbers. So we're going to start with mean. Let's see, we'll go to this cell right here. So notice we refer to cells as their column and their row. So this is D2. Let me zoom back in. So in D2, I'm going to write average. It's just text. It's bolded, but you can turn that on or off. So if I select it and I go bold, off, on. And I'm going to make my first equation here. So we have text, we have numbers, and we have equations. And the equations always start with an equal sign. So equals. And I'm going to say there's a function called average. And there's lots of functions in Excel, and you can see it. I can even click on this and it fills it in for me. And I'm going to say take the average of this column. And the way we refer to an entire column is B:B. So it's column B. I hit return, and there's the average. I'm going to do a similar thing for the median. Put in a title, equals median B:B. Boom. Mode equals mode. B colon B. So it's just giving me the median, the mode. I can have it give me the min. The min would be equals min, B colon B. And the max equals max, B colon B. Okay, so there's some first equations, right? There's a lot of built-in functions in Excel, and you can look them up. But sometimes if I forget some or if I'm wondering if there's one, I just Google it. Now I'm going to make another little divider wall here. Maybe I'll just for fun make it blue. And that's where I'm going to put my table. I'm going to put my table over here. And I can shorten these sizes by letting the arrow hover. So let me start here. I'm going to build out some titles. It's going to take me a second. And we're going to say price min, price max. You can hopefully see these on the worksheet I gave you. Relative frequency. But if you don't have it yet or you don't have it in front of you, you can just follow along. Frequency, cumulative frequency. And this is a long one, relative cumulative frequency. Okay. If I want the cells to match the size, so like see how there's all this white space, I can drag if I want, but you can also hover the arrows and double click. There we go. So if you want it to fit exactly, you can do that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is, here we're going to create, if you want to see the end result, we want to group these hotels by their cost. So we're going to break them into sections of 10, so from 40 to 49, 50 to 59. So how many hotels are there between these two numbers? And of course we could go through and count them, but this is the power of Excel, is we can have it be dynamic, so it will calculate it for us, and we don't have to go searching through a bunch of data. So we're going to, in here, put 40 and then 50. Now, Excel is very good at noticing patterns. So if I highlight both of those, so I shifted, clicked, so it selects both, so I can click, shift, click, and notice the little blue box. Watch what happens when I drag this down. It continues the pattern. And these are just numbers inside the cell. You can see there's 60. Now I only need to go to 110 because the most expensive thing I have is 119, so it will be caught in this range between 110 and 119. So I'm just going to delete those, and I just highlighted and hit delete. Now as a practice to use another equation, I'm going to take this, I'm actually going to calculate the price max, and normally I would just type in 49, but just as practice I'm going to say equals, and I'm going to show you the power of dragging, which is kind of cool. I can refer to the cell to the left by clicking here. Notice it populated G2. I want to add 9 to that number, plus 9. Now if I click on that, you'll notice it shows me the formula up here, but the result here. Now the reason this is much more useful than just typing a bunch of numbers is because now it's going to, this is called a relative reference. This really means the cell to the left, G2, which left of H2 is G2. Because if I drag this blue box down one level and then click on this one, notice it's changed from G2 to G3. And if I drag it all the way down, it's smart enough to figure out, oh, you want me to move the reference, the cell reference. So now it's G7, and there we are. Okay, now and we need, just looking at my worksheet here, I also want to have a total. We'll use the total, we'll calculate the total here in a minute. Now, this is the hard one. This formula that we're about to put in here is by far the most complex, and I wouldn't expect anyone to memorize this or know how to use this function necessarily. But I looked it up, I Googled it, and but let's try it out, and we'll use it from time to time. But this is certainly not something to memorize. Okay, I want this cell to count all the numbers in this B colon B, this column B, that is between 40 and 49. And the way we do this is with a formula called count ifs. That is a plural, ifs. Because we're going to say, what we're really going to say is count all the numbers that are greater than 40 and less than 49. I should say less than or equal to. So the way count ifs works, and I had to look this up, is you give it the reference you want to talk about, B colon B, and you can see that it highlighted over here, comma, the condition you want it to meet, and you put that in quotes. So I want it to be greater than or equal to, well, instead of typing the number 40 here, I want to refer to this cell, G2. Unfortunately, you have to use an ampersand to combine things together. So that kind of means put this together with, and if I click, G2. So this reads, count all the numbers in this column greater than or equal to G2, which is 40. Now, it's count ifs because I'm going to do it again. B colon B. The next condition is quote, less than or equal to, remember combine, ampersands mean combine, H2. I'm going to click, I could just type the numbers H2, or the letters H2 if I wanted to, and I'm done. I'm going to close my parenthesis, hit return, and you see the number 3. But look at the formula we've made. Now that was kind of hard to do, but this dragging capability in Excel is extremely powerful. I don't need to type this again. I can take this blue box, drag it down, and it calculates all of those for me. So there are 5 numbers, 5 costs between 100 and 109, 8 between 110 and 119. Pretty sweet. That's the hardest formula we're going to do. Now, we are now going to find the total. I want the total to be right here. So I'm going to put an equation here. It says equals, and total is really sum. Right? Sum just means add together. And I'm going to drag, and notice it combined it together to say I2 to I9. That's how we refer to a range of cells, I2 to I9. And I close the parenthesis, and I hit return, and there are 49 hotels that I got from Trivago. There were lots more. This is just the ones I entered in. Okay. Relative frequency. Now, part of this is really an Excel lesson, so we can talk more about like what relative frequency, cumulative frequency is. But I'm going to kind of try to not just talk at the math here. We're kind of working on Excel at this moment in time. So I'm going to tell you right now that what this is it's dividing the frequency of a certain set of items, 3, 2, 6, 9, by the total. So how often does a price between $40 and $49 happen? Well, 3 divided by 49 is a percentage. So equals the cell to the left, I2. Now I'm going to show you. I did this differently in class, but I'm just going to show you the right way to do this, because what we want here is this cell. But the drag does not work if when I drag this down like I did the other ones, this cell reference is going to move down into these blank cells. So we need a way to what's called lock the reference. And on Windows, there's a great shortcut which is just F4, but I'm going to type it here for demonstration purposes. I'm going to put my cursor right before that I, and I'm going to get $, and then after that, it's not clicking very well. There we go, $. This means when you drag this cell, do not change this reference, because I always want to divide by the total. And it happens to be a percentage. Yours is probably not. Let me show you how you would see it, because I've done this on this sheet before, so it remembers some of my formatting. Let me fix it. Come on. There we go. Okay. So this is 6% of all the hotels are between 40 and 49. It's 3 out of 49. Now, when I drag this down and I click on the formula, you'll notice excuse me, it's changed the I3 reference, and if I click on this, by the way, it shows me what it's using. See, this cell to the left divided by, and it's locked I10, because I don't want that to change. So I'm going to drag this down, boom, and there it is. If I do want to see this as a percentage, I can highlight them and hit the percentage button. There they are. So 10% of all the hotels are between 100 and 109. Okay, almost done. Cumulative frequency means, if you will, the running total, meaning how many are at this level or less than it. So, goodness, sorry. In this first cell, how many entries, how many hotels are in this category or less? Well, only this many. So it's just 3. Whatever that cell is, that's what's going to be here. The second, I'm not going to drag this because then it would just keep copying these cells. The next one's going to be actually different. What I want to do as a running total is the total above it, K2, plus the new total in this category. So let me hit enter. If you want to see it, it's over here in the corner. This 5 means there are 5 hotels at this level of price or below, which is, of course, the 3 and the 2. Now I can drag this down. And I'm really glad that that number is 49 because it's the same number as that. 100% of the hotels are cheaper or in the same category as this. And this one's going to be very similar to relative frequency. I'm going to have to lock a cell, but I'm going to say what percentage, like the running total, so cell to the left, divided by the total, and I'm going to hit F4 this time. People on Macs, that F4 does not work. I'll figure out the shortcut for that. So here, the cell to the left divided by the total, which won't change. Now, it's not surprising these are the same, but look what happens if I switch it down 1. 10% of all the hotels, not 5, but 10% of them are at this level or below. So I'm going to drag that down. And I'm glad that's 100% because 100% of the hotels are at in this category or below. Okay, that's all I've got. The major topics we went over today in this, as far as skills for Excel, is types of cells, and that was text, numbers, and formulas. We talked about built-in functions like averages and means and modes. We did arithmetic with relative cells. So that was, for example, this one right here. We added 9 and then had a relative cell, built it up. That's not how you spell arithmetic. That's arithmartic, which is just arithmetic. And we talked about, we did do a count if. I'm not sure that's a major point for today. We did do a locked cell reference. Okay. We did a little bit of formatting, like creating the blue cells and making these into percentages. And we did locked references. So that's kind of what we did today. And those are some good ones. If you got that down, that's pretty much the most important stuff you need to know in Excel and Google Sheets for a long time. So we will practice more. Hope this was helpful. See ya.